The Bison Basketball Show with NDSU head coaches Dave Richman and Jory Collins. The Bison Basketball Show is presented by Gate City Bank for a better way of life. And Pepsi.
Hey friends, Rob Hipp here on the Bison Basketball Show with head coach Dave Richman. As always, thanks for joining us. Welcome in. Coach, good to see you again. February's here. We're rocking and rolling.
Here we go. It's good to be back in Fargo. Good to reconnect with the family, obviously, and reset for an important week for Bison basketball.
It was good to be on the road. I know a tough two-game go of it there, but kind of good to get back into that road rhythm. Haven't been in that in a while.
Yeah, sometimes, you know, we've talked about that before, Rob, where it is after a couple weeks at home and you can controlling things a little bit more. You know, on the road, you're just tighter. You're in the hotels together. You're on the buses more, and so. Not the results, clearly, that we wanted, but hopefully there's some perspective that was gained and some growth that was gained as well along the way.
Well, we'll go back here and look at those two matchups, the first of which starting on the road down in Vermillion at South Dakota. Your guys always putting in the hard work and effort, and I know a tough one here in this one, but coming back from an 18-point deficit with 5 to go, or 5 points down with 107 left, just weren't able to get any closer. I always like to lead in just some positives, Coach, to take away from this.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I think the positives is we're getting a lot of guys a lot of minutes. This is a game, unfortunately, Rob, you know, we're going to be without Luke Yoder for the rest of the season. Which is a setback in different ways too, not just on the court, but from a leadership standpoint. We were without Damari in this game, you know, perspective, but also excuses and next man up, and we just limited ourselves. Too many turnovers, too many missed opportunities offensively. You know, not the urgency that we needed defensively with some of the focus and the execution pieces, but. You know, Bowden was able to score the ball well. Grant was able to get into the double-double. And we made a good push. You know, from a positive perspective, we made a good push down the stretch, but we can't dig ourselves that kind of hole.
Yeah, Grant Nelson, as you mentioned, having that double-double, wrapping up with 13 points, 13 rebounds. Just how is the team really starting to flow around him? It seems that connection continues to build stronger each game.
Well, and I know we'll get into it in a minute, but I thought we were at our best offensively on Saturday afternoon against the Rabbits, and you know, that what is the best version of us offensively? That's playing in transition, Rob. And then that's playing through either Grant or Andrew. And, you know, Grant's certainly a special talent. Because of his talent and skill set, he can draw some multiple double teams in some situations that compromise the defense, and that opens some things up for other guys. And when we understand that, play with that poise, we're pretty good.
It's a 71-62 drop there on the road, a tough contest, but Bowden Skundberg, 23 points. And I just wanted to ask, how much has he continued to grow from, you go back and look at last year, what are you seeing from him and how he continues to grow and develop?
Well, I think you're starting to see a little bit more offensive production, you know, 23 points. And, you know, our challenge to Bowden is to make sure that that's an efficient 23. And again, understanding who we are offensively. Bowden's always been just a fierce competitor. And that's the number one thing he's got going for us. He really sets the tone with that swag and, you know, that urgency that the guys feed off of.
What did you tell the guys after this one? I know a tough contest there, but they're always working hard. What did you tell them?
Well, we needed to reset. I think it was a matter of, you know, you got about 36 hours to refocus a little bit. You try to your point, you try to find some positives, and clearly there are positives. But also there's plenty of learning opportunities, and that's the challenge, to make sure that our guys understand that, you know, as we move forward, we need to continue to grow and learn.
Well, speaking of moving forward, another game on the road right after USD. They're on this past Saturday, going down to South Dakota State. And this was another tough game. A good team down there in Brookings, as we know. The Bison good as well. But it was another game versus NDSU, decided by 6 points or less. Just how much of a rivalry has this game turned into over the years?
Yeah, it clearly has. And we need to do our part to even up the numbers. You know, they've been tight games, but the South Dakota State has been on top of the majority of those. And so, you know, we've got to fix that. And this was a terrific college basketball game from a fan's perspective. I really liked who we were offensively. You're seeing some clips right there of us playing in transition. We want to take advantage of those things. You know, there was also plenty of offensive possessions where we played through the post and we played in the paint. Some things those are where our true strengths are. When you're playing a very talented South Dakota State team and you're playing them at their place, they only turned it over 2 times, and we only had 9, but every time we did, it felt like they capitalized. And so, it's just that margin of error we've talked about that we've got to continue to tighten up as we move forward. But, Rob, we shoot almost 60% from the field offensively. And lose a game, that really tells me that we've got to continue to grow defensively. We've got to continue to understand and execute a game plan. We've got to continue to make sure that we have the urgency needed. And you can't trade baskets. And we've had a couple games like this, or are you at home? This game in particular where we've just traded baskets and you fall into that trap. And the successful identity of our program has been getting those stops and finishing possessions.
Seeing some plays here, Damari Wheeler-Thomas driving in there, and then the assist out to that corner to Jakari White. And it was good to have DWT, as I've come to call him here over the last few games, be back in that game. And just how much of impact does his presence on that court bring?
It's a huge impact for us. And again, like you and I have spoke here, just that, when we're at our best, we're playing through the post. But when you've got a lead guard that dominates the ball and takes care of the ball, I should say, but also can be an elite defender, he just calms the water for us. And again, give South Dakota credit Thursday night, but I thought that was a big factor in the result. And you can see the poise, the calming factor that he has for us. In his importance as we continue to move forward.
What do you feel like in that contest just really was the X factor on the SDSU side?
Well, we didn't get stops, Rob, and they beat us up in the post. Obviously, Zeke Mayo went off and just had an incredible night in their afternoon. And again, things that credit them, but also things that we need to get better at.
I talked to Grant Nelson at the end of that game, wrapping up with 27 points, another double-double with 15 rebounds. We just talked about the energy that their crowd brings, just like Bison Nation. And Grant told me, and it's a sign of the leadership, he goes, I actually feed off of opposing crowds. When they get into the game, that gets me more hyped up. And I think that just shows his leadership of how he continues to grow.
Yeah, and I think that's and that's something that we did talk about Friday night, Saturday morning it was going to be a terrific environment, and in a lot of ways a hostile crowd. South Dakota State, a lot of those fans aren't North Dakota State fans, clearly, but for me, for a competitor, hopefully for all the guys in our locker room and in our meeting rooms, that you want those environments, you want those challenges.
We'll step aside and take a break. A lot more to come here on the Bison Basketball Show. Stay with us. We'll be back after this.
This one's for every sports fan who just spent the entire game explaining to someone the entire game. You've compromised enough. Pepsi Zero Sugar.
A better way of life is better days off and better nights in. Better hellos and better goodbyes. With locally approved, financed, and serviced home loans, Gate City Bank makes buying a home simple. Welcome home. Gate City Bank, for a better way of life.
For the best sports coverage, turn to the home of local sports, WDAY. For exclusive live games, analysis, and much more. There are more ways to watch than ever before. Turn to WDAY and WDAY Extra, or subscribe online to WDAY Sports Plus for up-to-the-minute content you won't find anywhere else. Available on Inforum.com. Don't miss a minute of the action on the home of local sports, WDAY. When the game ends, we're just beginning. Sports Sunday. The award-winning WDAY sports team dives into the biggest sports stories throughout the region. Get to know the athletes behind the major plays. WDAY presents the best sports show in the region. When the game ends, we're just beginning. Sports Sunday. Sunday nights at 10:35.
Another rock and roll weekend.
Burgers, better with Pepsi.
Welcome back to the Bison Basketball Show. Always great to have everyone tuning in. And Coach, a very important month right now. It's Black History Month, and you and I always talk about the things that these young men do off the court. I know participating in E-Racism, that's a program that's been going on throughout college basketball for a long time. Just wanted to highlight this month and how important it is for our nation and for you guys to be a part of this.
Well, it's obviously an extremely important month, Rob, and I think based on some of the circumstances and you know, a lot of the conversations that we've been afforded to have over the last 3 years in particular, we want to take advantage of the platforms that we have to bring awareness to the injustices that are out there. And to me, there's T-shirts that are worn, there's different things that are posted on social media. To me, the biggest thing that we got to continue to do, especially as white men, is to listen and to educate ourselves. So. You see us when we warm up. It's Bison Basketball bringing people together, and we feel like because of our locker room, the dynamic and the conversations that we get, the interactions that we get, we can be a great example to people not only around you know, the NDSU community, but also the Fargo-Moorhead community as well. Well,
very important to highlight that, and you mentioned just being together, and here we go down through February, the home stretch, if you will, and we're already well halfway through the season in conference play. Just how fast does February fly by? Just 6 games remaining on the slate.
Yeah, it goes really fast, Rob. I think it's hard to believe that we're already in February. Is the bigger question. And but again, you know, it's the boring process. It's the boring journey. You know, we've got to take advantage of every opportunity. Clearly, we're not in a position right now that we want to be in when it comes to record-wise, but also, you know, full transparency of where we want to be playing. You know, that's not good. But it's also not the worst case scenarios. We have plenty of opportunities for us to grow along the way. And February is a big month. It's a positioning month where you can get lost in the dog days of college basketball, yet you can't miss out on some very important games.
You must have been reading my mind because the word dog days was going through my mind. I was talking to somebody just a couple of days about that. And even though it does kind of feel like that routine, you're still grinding and getting through. It's an exciting time in February because you're battling for position. Well,
I mean, again, disappointed, you know, with the result on Saturday, but what a terrific college basketball environment, what a terrific college basketball game for people to watch. And so that happened in February. You know, we're going to play Thursday. We're going to play Saturday this week. These are important games. These are important opportunities Monday through Wednesday for us to get better. As you're positioning yourself in February for the best month on the calendar, and that's March.
We know it's a young team, no excuses there, Coach, as you and I have talked about that all season, but just how do you feel that these guys have continued to come together? We've mentioned that chemistry so much, but now that we are through and February's on the road, just what have you liked from these young guys so far?
You have seen a lot of growth, clearly, Rob, and you've been with us on this journey and seen some really bumpy and rocky times. That being said, I think that next step for us is to put it all together, where it feels at times this guy's making a little progress and then this guy will step back a little bit. And what we've got to get is everybody building, everybody growing. So much of it is not even on the roller coaster. It's you know, maybe sometimes we're staying flatline, and that's not good enough. We need to make sure that we're growing along this way.
Well, back at home here coming up, 2 more games, Omaha and Denver. Know that every game is important. What are you looking forward to in these matchups?
Well, just the opportunity for us to grow. And I was looking at Omaha stats, last 3 game stats, and they dropped all 3 in the win-loss column, but they're right there. They're just hanging on. And you know, it was a tie game for us at their place, and so this is going to be another great challenge. I know Coach Crutchfield has a young group as well. Him and I talked about that before the game, and you can see some guys with injuries, you know, in and out of the lineup. So again, going to be an extremely tough challenge for us Thursday night.
We're looking forward to these 2 matchups, Omaha Thursday and then Denver Saturday. And just want to remind you, Bison Nation, as always, go online, get your tickets, gobison.com. Your presence definitely is felt, it is known, and it does make a huge impact on these players. So looking forward to these 2 games. And again, good to be back at home and know that it's going to be a loud and rowdy crowd, and we need that, Coach. Thanks as always.
Yeah, we've had tremendous crowds, Rob, and been a huge asset for us. And so hopefully we can continue to fill the Shack here again this week.
Well, that'll wrap it up with head coach Dave Richman. We still have a lot more to come here on the Bison Basketball Show as women's head basketball coach Jory Collins joins us coming up.
This one's for every sports fan who just spent the entire game explaining to someone the entire game. You've compromised enough. Pepsi Zero Sugar.
This is Jack. Jack loves sports, and since he banks at Gate City Bank, he can show his spirit right on his debit card. Even better, Gate City Bank will donate $10 to his favorite local school. And when Jack's friends cheer on their favorite teams, those schools receive $10 too. Plus, Jack and his friends score every day with free ATMs worldwide. Now that's always a win. Gate City Bank, for a better way of life.
The WDAY Storm Tracker team goes in depth every week with Weather Wednesday, brought to you by Northwest Tire. Go beyond the forecast with a special look at weather topics impacting your area. Tune in and watch every Wednesday on First News, mornings from 5 to 7, the 9 p.m. news on WDAY Extra, and WDAY News at 10 p.m. Watch Weather Wednesday every week, brought to you by Northwest Tire.
Your local news informs and inspires. We share your stories of sorrow and hope. The stories that entertain, educate, and engage.
Your news at 5 starts.
We record the past and reveal the future. We tell the stories of your community with local news.
Another rock and roll weekend.
Burgers, better with Pepsi.
Welcome back into the Bison Basketball Show. Rob Hipp here, now joined by women's head basketball coach Jory Collins. Coach, good to have you. How have you been?
Good morning, Rob. Been good.
Well, it's always great to see you. And I kind of wanted to lead in, it was Girls in Sports Day this past week, and I know that your girls were celebrating that. What were you taking part of?
Yeah, there was. We had a whole bunch of young ladies in the practice gym getting to interact with all kinds of student athletes. And just getting them involved in activities and sports, and we know that's where it started for a bunch of our young players. We were also wearing some shirts that day, If Not For Them, is a docu-series going on that is just highlighting the history and the beginning of women's basketball in college. And it's really fun to take a look at that. If you go to ifnotforthem.com and just check that out, it's being put together. Made me really proud to be in women's basketball and just get to see some of the pioneers of our sport and kind of the people who laid the foundation for us to be able to do what we do.
Well, February's here, rocking and rolling. 2 games that you guys just finished up at home at the Shill Center, starting with South Dakota. And a very fun matchup. I guess you could call it fun, Coach, if you like back and forth games.
I think if you were in the stands, I think that was probably a fun game to watch. I mean, it was back and forth and a lot of great plays being made. Last week we talked about us not being very good defensively at North Dakota, and you can see here, first 2 possessions of the game, we were a little more aggressive out in the passing lanes. Able to get off to a good start with a couple poke steals and run-outs. Had multiple players make big plays in this game.
86-82 in overtime with the victory there. Just what was that energy and momentum like?
Well, we needed it. We didn't play particularly well at the last minute and a half of regulation, and then the last minute of overtime. We had some mistakes in there, so great learning spots for us. It's always good when you can learn and still get the win. They were there to fight, and you got to give South Dakota credit. They played pretty well against us. But I thought Elle Evans was terrific. Heaven was terrific. Taylor Brown, Abby Schulte, some of our ones that we need to be good were all good. And that's why we were able to win the game.
6 unanswered points to start overtime. You just mentioned Heaven Hamling. She led that charge. Just what stood out about her play, especially down the stretch there in overtime?
Yeah, she was kind of nursing a knee last week and missed some practice time and probably wasn't close to 100%, but just really gutted it out. Her toughness in those situations, we lined her up with the ball a couple times late in the game. She delivered both times in situations where we needed some good baskets.
Yeah, an opportunity there as the Bison sweep USD for the first time since 99-2000. A lot of success from this team this season. Just how much does that mean to you, seeing how well these girls are playing against tough opponents like USD?
Yeah, I mean, that's what we're here to do. I mean, we're continuing to build this thing. It's a slow journey, but it's progressing. Every time you have a chance to do something that hasn't been done before or hasn't been done in a long time, you kind of feel like, hey, we're on the right path. And so we just continue to learn and grow and try to keep that arc going up.
You mentioned about just learning and growing from a contest like this, the first one in overtime this season, getting the victory. What are some other positive takeaways that you look at? When we went to overtime, we could have hung our heads. We probably felt like we had it wrapped up in regulation, kind of let a couple shots get away from us. We could have came to the bench and sulked a little bit. I thought we started overtime with great energy and said, hey, we'll just get it in the next 5 minutes, and then we're able to do that. Well, we have to, because as part of the show, we'll move ahead and look ahead to South Dakota State. That game taking place on Saturday back at the Shill Center. Girls got off to an early start, pretty fast, not able to hold on, but I wanted to lead with the positive like I always do. What led to that early success?
Yeah, I just thought we were dialed in. We were playing hard. We took the things we practiced, right out there to the floor. I think got up 11-2. Played a really good first quarter. I thought we guarded them as well as we've guarded those guys in a long time. The whole game changed in the last 3 or 4 minutes of the first half. We were in significant foul trouble. They were able to get to the free throw line and just snatch momentum from us right before halftime. And then just coming out in the third quarter, they do what really great teams do. They kind of punched us in the mouth there at the start of the third and separated to a point where we couldn't get back in it. So it was frustrating. We feel like we're better than what we showed there, and we did for a long time. Again, it's one of those games where it was about a 7-minute span at the end of the second, start of the third, that was the complete difference in the game.
Well, Coach, again, just taking a look at that one, what did you tell the girls after the game?
To be honest, I said, hey, that is what it is. We have some bigger fish to fry here down the stretch. We're going to keep looking and learning from this. Keep growing, but we're going to move on as quick as we can and get ready for this week.
All right, well, that's taking a look there. We'll step aside, take a break. More to come here as Logan Campbell has an interview with us coming up with Taylor Brown and her family. Stay with us. Bison Basketball Show continues after this.
This one's for every sports fan who just spent the entire game explaining to someone the entire game. You've compromised enough. Pepsi Zero Sugar.
This is Jack. Jack has a debit card from Gate City Bank. However, it looks like a little night ninja took off with his card, as they sometimes do. But lucky for Jack, he can freeze his missing debit card with the tap of his mobile app. And even if his card is stolen or lost for good, he can go to any Gate City Bank location to get a new card issued instantly. Gate City Bank, for a better way of life.
When it matters most, turn to the most watched, most trusted news team in the region, the news leader, WDAY News. More people turn to WDAY News, first on the scene for breaking news and major local stories. The best coverage of local weather, taking the guesswork out of your forecast. Everything you need to know. Turn to the news leader, WDAY News, weeknights at 6 and 10.
Inform has been your trusted local news source for more than 130 years. We are committed to providing our community with local news that's relevant, trustworthy, and accurate. But what sets us apart is our unique understanding of the Fargo-Moorhead community, because it's our community too. Get local news that works for you at inform.com.
Another rock and roll weekend.
Burgers, better with Pepsi.
Well, for 4 years, Taylor Brown lived 1,300 miles away pursuing the sport she loves at American University. During her time on the East Coast, her parents could only make it to a handful of games. Taylor and her family talk with WDAY's Logan Campbell about how they've made up for lost time since transferring to NDSU.
Brown, who played over 100 basketball games at American.
What made you want to come closer to home after your 4 years at American?
I think it was just a decision I wanted to make after having 4 years. My parents having to travel to a ton of games, that it'd be nice that they could come to games, their friends could come to games, and other family members could make it.
How tough was it for you guys as her parents not being able to go and watch your daughter play all the time like you were able to now?
It was horrible. I mean, It was very hard.
and especially after losses and stuff, not to be there after. So it was hard, especially the COVID year. We didn't get to go to any games. So now we've made it to every single one game.
What's the travel been like for you guys this year? They've been on the road a lot so far.
Yeah.
A lot of quality bonding time.
Way too much together time in the car.
Yeah.
Way too much together.
8 or 9 hours is, a time there and back. But, I mean, it's been fun. She's wanted us there, so we've been able to make it, and we've made it work.
How does it feel? You're playing, you get to look in the stands and see your parents there supporting you.
Yeah, it's really nice that they take the time and schedule it to come to all the games. It's super exciting to have someone to talk to after the game, so I love it.
Is there anything that you guys do before or after games that's kind of like your family rituals?
We do what she tells us to do.
Yeah. We have to check the list to see what we're allowed to talk about, what we're not. And no, I mean, I would say this. I mean, we get together with some of the parents before. We obviously get together with the Hamlings before all the games because we've known them forever, which we didn't get to do in D.C., so it's been fun to get to know the other parents.
Like a moment that you guys have had this season that kind of sticks out in your mind other than the UND game?
The U of M game.
Gopher game, 100%. Fun to win.
Yeah, she played them twice before, and they came to Minnesota because that's where she's from. And we had probably, 300 or 400 people there from Lakeville. And it was a loss. She had a great game, but it was a loss for us. So to have a win was a big game, and she played very well that game. So that was very fun.
A great segment there by Logan with Taylor Brown and her family. Coach, what impact has Taylor made? She's done amazing things this year.
Yeah, it's been pretty special to have her this year. You can look at her numbers and see how she's impacting us on the floor, but I think her maturity, personality, and just veteran presence and basketball IQ have probably been the biggest impact for us.
Last question I have for you, Coach. On the road, you're getting to travel, of course, and you don't just go out to eat. You're meeting with families and sometimes getting some home-cooked meals.
We've been great this year. We've had, I think, 3 home-cooked meals on the road with families of our players or coaches. It's been terrific. I think we got one more lined up when we go to the cities with the Browns, I believe, when we play St. Thomas. So there's nothing better than getting a home-cooked meal even when you're on the road.
Well, it's always about family, and down to the final 6 games here as February winds down. What are you looking forward to the most, Coach?
Well, I'm excited. We're excited about where we're at. We're excited about the possibilities of where we can go here in the last 6 games. So it's time to, refocus a little bit, get locked in for this 3-week stretch and see what we can do.
Well, still quite a bit of basketball remaining. Again, 6 games remaining here in February as we wrap up Summit League Conference play. And I know these 2 games will be on the road coming up against Omaha there and Denver. But an opportunity for you to come out whenever the girls get back home. As always, you can find full schedule and ticket information. Simply just go to the website, gobison.com. This will wrap it up with Jory Collins and the Bison Basketball Show. As always, horns up and go Bison.
The Bison Basketball Show is presented by Gate City Bank for a better way of life. And Pepsi.
This has been an exclusive presentation from Learfield.
This one's for every sports fan who just spent the entire game explaining to someone the entire game. You've compromised enough. Pepsi Zero Sugar.
Teamwork,